Our next guest is Tommy Sikes. He is bringing everyone new attention to Europe to buy a house for €1. That's right, €1. So let's see what that's all about. Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Hugh. How are you?
Good, my friend. Good. Tommy, you're from traveltirement.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell us what traveltirement.com is.
Well, Travel Retirement is a passion project of mine. My wife and I, our last child of three children, was getting ready to head off to college this fall, actually. And a couple of years ago, I started dreaming about what we might do when we're empty nesters. So I started researching. We love travel in Europe. So we started researching ways to travel affordably, but for longer periods of time. That led me to discovering the incredibly affordable real estate that you can find. And my two favorite countries are Italy and France. And a lot of Americans are shocked to find out that there are some incredibly affordable properties there, including €1 homes.
Yeah, especially nowadays with the way that real estate has just gone crazy in the US. So now you said €1, which I know, I believe right now the euro is like for every $1, it's like 0.98 euros. And, they're switching back and forth a few pennies off and on. Um, is that really true? Is it really €1?
It is. It's not a scam. It's not a gotcha. There are a lot of caveats with that, though, and I'll go through a couple of them with you if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, €1 is the starting price. Typically, these houses are in southern Italy. Um, Italy has had a huge migration of people out of southern Italy and out of smaller towns to either the north of Italy, where there's more employment, or to other parts of Europe, because the Eurozone people are able to move freely. These small towns that have lost a lot of population, to attract people back, have worked to offer these homes for €1. It's typically an auction, though, so the price starts at €1, and
Uh,
then depending on how many people are bidding on it, it may go up, into a few hundred, a few thousand euros. Not always. I mean, you can legitimately get one for €1 if there are no other bidders. Another caveat is there are always requirements with purchasing one of these properties. Typically, that means within a certain amount of time, maybe a year or two, the purchaser has to spend up to a certain amount to renovate the property. These aren't like fully renovated, move into ready, furnished places. These are, a lot of them are pretty rough. But if have dreamed of owning a place in Italy, particularly in southern Italy, you have some budget to do some renovation. And when I say budget, I've seen people spend €20,000, €50,000. Obviously, you can go way up from there. But with that kind of budget, you can get typically a very nicely renovated, livable. It's going to be relatively small. It's not like a big 3,000 US house, 3,000 square foot US house.
right.
But with that kind of budget, you can legitimately own a place in Italy.
Now, do you have to live there while you're renovating, or do you have to spend time at this home? Or is it a situation where you can buy it, you can renovate it, do it into an Airbnb, rent it to someone else? What's that kind of situation?
It depends on the individual municipality. They may put restrictions on the type of residence you can turn it into. But I'll just say in general, there are no restrictions on Americans buying property in Italy. Like, you don't have to become a citizen. You don't even have to become a full-time resident. Um, the immigration and the property purchase are separate things. So you could absolutely, again, you'd want to find out the details from the municipality where you're buying this, but find out what those details are and potentially turn it into an Airbnb.
Okay. I had a friend of mine actually bought a complete village in Italy, and she's a winemaker, started out as a vineyard, and kind of built up in there, started creating a whole economic system. People started working, and then now she's actually become a destination. The village, we're talking an entire city, has become a destination for wine and people come to visit. It's been really amazing what she's done with it. And she literally, I mean, pennies on the dollar for what she actually put in for that village.
Yeah, it's
So,
incredible, and again, people need to understand that these places with the €1 homes and some of these other tax benefits, which we can talk about in a minute, the reason to do this is to draw foreigners in, to come spend money, buy a property, spend the money renovating the property, spend your dollars, your tourism dollars locally, and also, again, for every person that comes in, there's somebody else who's thinking, "Oh, well, they did it. Maybe I can do it too." And so they want to rejuvenate these areas, and of course, southern Italy in particular is gorgeous: mountains, beaches, rolling hills, vineyards, olives, all the
no,
stuff
it's
that
great.
people know about Italy.
So let me ask you this. So let's get into the nitty gritty of the taxes. Now, Americans, wherever they live, have to pay taxes. This is one of the things IRS requires. Now, and I know that there is certain tax advantages of living abroad in these cities that you're mentioning. What are the tax liabilities and advantages of living abroad?
Well, I'll point out a couple of different what's called tax regimes in Italy. The most popular right now is what's called the 7% flat tax regime. There are 8 regions of southern Italy and some also in some individual towns in some other regions where if you move as an American and become a tax resident of a town that has 20,000 people or less in it, you can then pay a flat 7% tax on all your worldwide income in Italy. So that means your Social Security, pension incomes,
Wow.
investment incomes, even if you had, were passively maybe owning a business in the United States and getting that income,
Okay.
all of that can be included, and you literally pay just a flat 7% tax.
So what happens in the U.S.?
So in the US, you would get a tax credit for that 7% that's paid in Italy on your 1040. There is a form just for foreign tax credit. And so, as long as your US tax liability was not over the 7%, then you would not owe anything additional to the United States. However,
Okay.
if you did owe more in the United States, you would just have to pay the difference.
Okay. So what happens if someone says, "Hey, you know what? I love living in Italy or I love living in France. I'm in this tax shelter situation. I want to become a Italian citizen." Um, does that mean that basically that eliminates the U.S. tax liability and they're paying 7% and that's it?
Unfortunately, no. And United States is one of the few countries in the world that taxes by citizenship, not residency. So, for example, an Italian citizen who does not reside in Italy, maybe they live in the United States or some other country of the world,
Right.
they don't pay any income tax in Italy if they're not residing there. The United States, unfortunately, taxes by citizenship, which means if even if I'm an Italian citizen, if I have an Italian passport and a US passport, I'm still going to owe in the United States. You still have to file and pay. Now, as I said before, you may not actually owe anything if your tax liability in the country you're living is higher or close to what you would have paid in the United States. It's going to be a wash. So they
Got it.
try to eliminate double taxation.
Okay, I got it. I got it. But I mean, ultimately, you're going to get a beautiful home in Europe and in southern Italy or France for much cheaper than what you would have gotten here. And what a great place to retire to. So I have to ask you, which is better, France or Italy?
Well, it really depends. Obviously, a lot of Americans, I think I read there are way more Italian Americans than there are even Italians. So
Okay.
there are a lot of people in the United States who have family connections, parents, grandparents, great grandparents in Italy, so they have a natural pull to Italy.
Okay.
I will say from my research, um, Italy is cheaper overall. Cost of living is a little cheaper, particularly again in the southern parts of the country. Real estate's also going to be cheaper. France, on the other hand, Also very affordable as long as you get away from Paris. So, southwestern part of the country, southeastern, as long as you're not right on the what they call the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And then it really comes down to personal preference. Do you speak, did you take French in high school? Maybe it's going to be easier for you to relearn a language. They both have great geographies. They both have incredible wines. So then it can really come down to personal preference and obviously what your budget is.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to get going here, Tommy, but I hope to have you back again next time. Maybe we can take a look at some of these houses and get an idea of what these things look like and take a deeper dive.
Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Have a great